Good evening, everyone. Hello, hello, and welcome to Girls Night Live. We are so happy to have you joining us this evening, and we are especially thrilled and happy to have Kristiann joining us this evening. And most importantly, so excited. She's in the New England area, and she had some wicked storms tonight. So we're just so thrilled that she is able to be with us tonight. So thank you for wringing out the tablecloths for us, and we're so excited to have you joining us this evening for your paella. Welcome.
Hey, everybody. I'm Kristiann Vargas from Distinctive Ideas. I hail from Connecticut. And yeah, like we said earlier, we had some really nasty storms just ripped through. So unfortunately, you don't get to see my very bougie dinner table that I was going to serve us all, but we're under a tent, we're dry. We've got all kinds of wonderful ingredients, and we've got wine pairings to talk about. So I am very excited, and I hope you guys are too. So we got everybody in?
Yes, yep, we're all set.
Perfect. All right. So, did you lose me?
Hope you just turn your camera off.
There we go.
There we go.
There we are. All right. So I am a private chef, self-taught here in Connecticut. After 15 years in construction and COVID, I had the amazing opportunity to finally do something that I'm very passionate about, which is very bougie food. And bougie food always includes my family and my children. That window over there, you guys are probably going to see little faces pop up. Some little faces and not some little, not so little faces popping up, because this is definitely a family business. Everybody is involved. They are my guinea pigs and my best critics. And, you know, one of the things that we grew up eating, my family, is paella, rice dishes. My family is from Portugal, and so rice and seafood meats are a huge staple in our diet. So paella for me is like one of the most easy things to make that can feed the whole family. You can see down here in this, we've got this really awesome paella pan. Shout out to Aldi's because they recently had a giant sale on paella pans, and I was like, perfect, just in time for my bake. So I have multiple different size pans depending on how many people I'm trying to feed. So tonight we're going to get super intimate and really just start to cook together. So I know that all of you had the opportunity to look at the presentation that I sent over and my family's recipe. So we're actually going to make 4 paellas, kind of, sort of. The base paella is definitely... Want to come say hi, everyone, really quick? It's okay. Come quick. Say hi. Wave to everyone. This is my youngest. This is Mondo. All right, go back inside. Close the door. Take pictures. So we're going to start with a vegetable-based paella because a lot of people, you know, that is something very easy to consume. So we can do a lot of vegetables. In my particular recipe, I kept it very simple with the rest, with the vegetables, because we're going to be adding all different types of protein on top of it. But for those that are going to be starting with a vegetable paella, things like eggplant, asparagus, different types of peppers, all of those are fantastic to incorporate in your vegetable paella. And then we've got the meat lovers, for those that really just love meat and are not so friendly with the seafood. You can do chicken, you can do steak, you can do different types of sausages, porks. Tonight we are going to do just chicken and some really spicy sausage. Chef's note, I only cook with dark meat because you can't dry it out ever. And it is just flavorful, and it'll, you know, the natural fats that burn into the meal. You have to add less saturated fats to make it moist. So we're not adding a whole heck of a lot of salt. We're not adding a whole lot of extra butters and oils and things like that. So dark meat. And then the other thing would be the seafood paella. So tonight we're going to be using some really great, I got some fresh mussels that I got from my favorite fisherman. We've got some great shrimp. I chose, and I always choose to go with the jumbos, the 1620s. So that means that there's 16 to 20 pieces per pound. So they are going to be a really great jumbo size. They're scrumptious. The other thing that we're going to add in here, some of my favorites, some squid. I am a sucker for tentacles. We also have the bodies. I'm going to show you how to cut them down, incorporate them into your pan. But I think it's time to start going. But first and foremost, before we start cooking, because we're going to heat up our pan, I also included some wine pairings because it is, for me, one and the same. So for those that like whites, rosés, and reds, I gave you each a suggestion of what type of white, rosé, or red to incorporate with your meal, depending if you were doing meat lovers, seafood, vegetable. Tonight, we're going to incorporate all of them in mine. And so my Pinot Noir, which we're going to start with the red. Isn't this a beautiful bottle? California wine, Pinot Noir. It has the taste. It's like the cross between New Zealand and like your more mainstream Pinot Noirs, like some giant name brands. We're at $15 a bottle. It's absolutely fantastic. While you're prepping all of your vegetables and all of your ingredients, you can let that bad boy breathe. Pour yourself a glass, and now we're going to start cooking. So we are cooking outside. I have a very traditional burner. I'm going to go ahead and so we got some, like a propane tank. It is the traditional paella burner. You see them all over Spain, and I was lucky enough to be in Barcelona a couple times. So we're going to be cooking on propane. It's a lot of fun. It also can be a little bit difficult with heats. So we just got to be really careful. There we go. Go. So we've got her going right now. And we did get caught out in the rain, so she might have to evaporate a little bit of water beforehand. So there we are. We got that going. We are going to start incorporating some olive oil. Now, I am going to do everything by eye. My mother and my grandmother never taught me to use a measuring cup or a measuring spoon. It's always a blue cup from this cabinet, a spoon from that drawer, yada, yada, yada. So I broke it down for all of you in a recipe. And so we're just going to kind of do, the best that we can tonight. And we're going to adjust our heat a little bit. You want to start getting the oil hot without scorching, because now what we're going to start doing is incorporating our meats to start cooking. So here we go. So I've got our chicken. I'm going to slowly bring it up with just a little bit of flavor, because between the wine, the vegetables, the meats, the saffron, there's going to be a lot of flavors going on. You don't have to over season the meat. Good luck. But also do yourself a favor. Always season your meat before it hits the pan. It's so important. We're going to go ahead and drop that in. At the same time, I am just going to dice up really quick Now, for those of you who are just doing vegetable paellas, you will be starting with like garlic oil, the garlic, the onions, all of that. Typically, when you're incorporating meats, you would love to have the fats of the meat cooked at the bottom of your pan before you start adding in rice and things like that. It just goes ahead and crosses the flavors, really just brings everything up to a flavor that's just fantastic. So we got this going. There we go. Now, if you are cooking outside, like I am, you can also do this inside on one of those slow cookers or one of those electric pans. You can get a smaller version of this to go ahead and put on the stovetop. There's a lot of recipes out there that show, you know, you start cooking everything on the stovetop, add in all the ingredients, and then go ahead and put it in the oven and actually finish off the rice in the oven. That's a fantastic way to do a smaller paella where you're going to be just doing it for, you know, 2, 4, 6 people. So we're going to bring this up, have this start cooking. Bring the temperature up, and you want to cook everything almost through. Don't want to cook everything in your pan to well done, because then when you go ahead and start adding everything together, now you have the chance of overcooking some of the pieces, and there's not enough moisture, even though we're going to be adding in vegetable stock, a little bit of white wine. There's really just not enough juices left over to help cook the rice. And that would be the worst thing you could do, is have an underdone, somewhat crunchy rice, but the wrong kind of crunch, because paella is one of those dishes, very much like Puerto Rican rice and beans, that has this beautiful crunchy coating at the bottom of the pan from, you know, direct exposure to the heat. And so you want to be able to create that. And if there's no moisture in the pan, you're hit. And that's not what we want tonight. Go ahead, start this up. Is the chat live? Can I see people respond to questions that I have for them?
Yes, it is live.
All right. So of everybody that's out there, 1, I'd love to see where you're from. And 2, who else has cooked paella?
Well, everyone's answering that. We had a couple so cutes when your son came out, and then a great tip of the couple different tips that you said. Oh, with the dark meat, Gigi had said that's a great tip.
Awesome.
Henry
From North
is,
Carolina.
oh, can you see it? Okay.
I can. It's popping up. That's awesome. Portland, Oregon. That's a fun spot. Hello. And I also have.
So we've got Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, Los Angeles, California. Gigi's in Chicago, and she said she has only cooked Trader Joe's frozen paella.
Okay. No problem.
St. Paul,
the people from BC, fun little tip. I was actually born in Edmonton, Alberta. My family came over from Europe. Hey, Calgary, what's up? Born in Edmonton, Alberta, actually made a stop in LA before coming to the East Coast. So on my travels as a child, with family in Europe and learning the US, got to try a bunch of different things. But BC, I've got some family in Victoria, you guys. It's a very fun spot to be. Love seeing everybody. All right, so if you look in the pan, now we've got, this is like a perfect piece. So we've got some of the meat that's raw, some of it that's cooked. The sausage, this is a great way to know if your meat is being cooked properly, because you also don't want to leave things raw. You don't want to get yourself sick. You don't want to get your loved ones sick. Sausage is great because it becomes almost, it turns color and changes in texture. We're gonna go ahead and flip that bad boy over and just keep going. I'm actually gonna yell into the house and ask them to bring me a big platter. I'm very excited to have my mom logged in somewhere here. My dad is physically here, and then my partner is here as well with our kids. So it's a lot of fun. So go ahead and get a pan. Hey guys, can I have a platter? To put the cooked meat in there. And Rob refuses to be on camera. This is really funny. All right, so we've got all of our proteins going. This looks great. We're gonna take this off the heat. Now what we're going to do is, once we take this off the heat, we're gonna add in, which is how you would start your vegetable paella. We're gonna start with some olive oil. We're gonna start with some garlic, our onions, and then slowly move in with some of our tougher vegetables. Like this is when you would add in your asparagus. Say hi. Okay. All right, so take this off the heat. This is great. Fantastic. Keep it a little longer. And to go back to those kits where someone said they did the Trader Joe's, it is really great. There are several fantastic, like ready-made kits that you could, after tonight, you'll be able to take some of the things that we're talking about tonight and go buy like one of the box paellas. Goya has one, Trader Joe's has one, and make it a little more customized with very little effort, which just makes for a better, date night. All right, so now we could start from garlic like this. You would take a bulb like this. I am a garlic fanatic. You're gonna take half of a bulb, take those, crush them down, slice them, dice them, however you want. Because of the rain, I'm gonna be a little lazy. And I went and I got my minced. So we're gonna start up. We've got some oils from the meat in there already. I'm gonna just go ahead and lace that up a little bit more. And bam. So before I add in the garlic, here is a pro tip that I didn't know until I started cooking professionally. You always want to start with your pan, your oil, and your garlic cold. So a lot of people will take their pan, heat it up, throw in oil, or throw in the oil and then throw in the garlic. The problem with that is it all needs to come up together. You will get so much more flavor, aroma out of your garlic if you slowly bring the temperature up. So our pan was already on. I turned the heat down to try to bring it back down to 0 as fast as possible. But you won't scorch your garlic by doing it that way, because that is literally the worst thing you could do, right? Is have your oil too hot, your pan too hot. Now your garlic's got black pieces in it. It sucks. So your garlic is good when, one, it starts making that lacy pattern. You know that it's getting like nice and cooked up. You can smell it. The garlic changes, as well as the coloring slowly goes from like that creamy white color to more of a brownie color. So as it starts to change color, that's when we're going to go and hit it with our onion. Each onion does something a little bit different, whether it's a white. I've got a Spanish onion right here, which I went ahead and diced up. Any onion is acceptable in a paella except a red onion, because it completely changes the flavor of what we're working on. and actually does not do the paella justice. So whatever you have in the house, whether it's a shallot, a white onion, Spanish onion, go ahead and mince that. And then you're going to coat it all in that olive oil. So that way you get this, eventually we will get this absolutely beautiful, translucent, semi-soft. And let's leave it like that for a minute. In a couple of minutes, we're also going to add in a little bit more olive oil, our peppers. Because now what we're going to get ready to do is actually take our paella rice, which we're almost at that point. I don't know where, in different parts of where everybody is from, short grain rice is essential for this recipe. So I was lucky enough, funny where I find these beautiful, cute little bags. World Market always has these little bags with the short grain rice. You can also find occasionally some at the grocery store. You be careful not to buy sushi rice. I did that once very early on in my college days. Not the way you want to go. It just takes too much liquid on. But any kind of short grain rice is going to be perfect for this. Leave that right there. I'm going to go ahead and start dropping our peppers. Lovely, lovely. I'm going to do, at this point, as everything softens up, just a sprinkle of salt. And I'm going to hit it with a little bit of pepper again while we get this sauteed up. I also, for my paella recipe, do not use fine pepper. I use actually pretty coarse pepper. If you've never used coarse pepper before, be very careful your first time. It's a completely different flavor. It's much more intense. You need less of it. But the wow factor that you get by using, big coarse pepper versus, your fine, I highly recommend it in most of your dishes. All right. Nice. Nice. I wish you guys could smell this. It is fantastic. You got your garlic, your onions, your peppers are just now starting to I'm going to say off gas, but they're softening up. And as you start to make rice dishes in general more often, you can always use this kind of base to a lot of different rice dishes, depending on what you're trying to make. But the more that you make them, you'll feel, like I use a wooden spoon. I'm actually a huge fan of wooden spoons. These are my measuring spoons. They remind me of my grandmother, and they're fantastic. But you'll slowly feel how the vegetables give, the onions give, the peppers give, the meat gives. So it'll be great. All right, so we are pretty good with this. Now, as I pull it away, you can see the grease lines, or at least I hope you can see grease lines a little bit. This is the time that we really want to get our rice coated in that beautiful oil. And they always did a big paella bake. Yeah, those big paella bakes are amazing. The fact that they get every inch of those big pans well is like, all right. So we had a little bit of rain. I'm going to go ahead and measure out, because this is the part that actually matters. So the rice to moisture ratio is huge. And confession, I am 38 years old. I'm rounding out 40. I cannot wait. But it took me to 32 to figure out how to make rice properly, because I could never figure out the moisture to rice ratio. All right, so there we are. Boop-a-doo. So we've got 1 cup. I do it just like that. And again, very small little grains. They're just fantastic. Kind of looks like a risotto rice. Go like that. Perfect. Go ahead and take our pan. And you'll see all of the kernels starting to get coated in this. Off the sides. You don't want to screw around with it too much. You kind of want to toast the rice a little bit. Get it flattened out. Now we are going to add in our vegetable stock, our paprika, and the ingredient of the entire show, which is our saffron. So again, so we got 1 cup of rice, and we are going to do 1 cup of vegetable stock. There we go, 1 3/4. Eyeball a little bit of white wine. Grab our saffron. Bring her up to a boil. Bam. So it's so crazy to think that how something so incredibly small can be so impactful. You know, they're literally just these little threads. Oh, absolutely. Fantastic. The smell. And I just go ahead and sprinkle some on top. And it'll mix in. Here we are. We're going to bring her up to a boil. As soon as she gets up to a boil, we're going to give her 1 more mix, start layering in the meats, the shrimp. We're going to add in our tomatoes at that point, and our peas, and then just let it all meld together. And we're not going to touch it again, because that is also the other thing. Rice dishes, when you put in this much liquid, are very finicky. So if you touch them too many times, they become very, very mushy. It has to evaporate on its own. So once it comes up to a boil, we're going to turn her down just a little bit, let all of it sit and meld together and cook off slowly. So she's slowly coming to a boil. We got a little bit of a boil on the edges. Has everybody else had dinner? Me neither. This is dinner. My little one, my not so little one, my 13-year-old stepson, he goes, "Can you not mess it up so that we can have a really nice dinner?" I was like, "No problem, Puppy. I got you." I'm drooling too. I'm starving. And this smells so good. I wish there was a way that I could like box it up and send it to you guys, like some sort of like scratch and sniff sticker that should go with the presentation. So as we see right here, all of the nice little, everything is nicely coated. It's starting to bubble. We're gonna go ahead, start layering in our meats like so. There's no rhyme or reason. Literally, we're just gonna place her around. Perfect. All right, so that's great for chicken. Now let's go ahead and with some of our shrimp. Which again, the shrimp earlier, when I went to like wash them and make sure that they were ready to go, I kept the tails on. I come from a family that eats shrimp with heads, legs, tails, I figured I wouldn't do that for all of you. I'd make it a little more appetizing. I took the shells off and just left their little fins at the bottom. There we go. And just layer around. Okay, that looks great. You can use the shells give the food flavor. Absolutely 100%. I have affinity for South American and Asian food, and 100% like stocks, everything you do with shells, the crab shells, all of it. Amazing. So in the recipe, it says grab one like little can of diced tomatoes. I just went ahead and grabbed a couple of like beautiful Campari tomatoes that were at the grocery store. They looked fantastic, smell great, diced them up. We're gonna go ahead just like this. A little bit of color. Nice, nice. Also gonna add in our peas. We ate our fresh peas, so I went and just grabbed a bag of like little frozen peas. Just go ahead and add that in. I'm so excited about the color. Absolutely fantastic. And if you had asparagus in here or any of the zucchinis, that would look great too. Throw in a little paprika. Nice. We're going to go back in on top now that everything is placed in there. Oh, squid. Forgot about the squid. All right. So you take the whole bodies and you just put them down into just little rings, whatever size you like. Some people like them thinner, some like them bigger. I went ahead and did all of that. We'll go ahead, put our little tentacles in. That's my favorite part. And then we got to get the heat down because it's got to cook slowly. So boom, 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 boom. A little bit more in there. Whoop. She's not cooked. And these last few. Boom, 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 boom. And then let's just tap her in there really. Lovely. Perfect. And heat lowered. Hit it with some of the black pepper on top, as well as some of the salt. Just so that way the flavor that's on the bottom is also on the top. And then at the very end is when we add in our parsley, our mussels, which this whole time have been sitting in some water, and a little bit of white pepper to kind of have them spit out whatever kind of grit they have in their belly. White pepper is definitely the trick. I learned it from a little old fisherman from Newfoundland. There we are. Isn't it pretty? It looks so good, the colors. All right. And we're good. And now we just let her sit here and simmer down. Sometimes, depending on how much rice you're putting in, how big of a pot it is, this could take to boil all the liquid down, because we are going to add in just a tiny bit more liquid on top. 30 to 45 minutes to get a nice slow concentration down. We didn't do that much rice tonight because I was really hoping you guys would see like the final. So let's talk about side dishes while this boils down. Some of the things that I absolutely love to pair with paella is going to be something that's got a little bit of a crunch. So for us this summer, we've gotten the kids involved in it too. We're absolutely obsessed with an arugula heirloom tomato burrata salad. Super simple, that little bit of crunch, that little bit of creaminess, little bit of olive oil, and that balsamic glaze on top is just divine. A little bit of salt, throw it on there. So pairing something crunchy with something that is going to have all of these different flavors and the garlic and is fantastic. We also do a lot of like roasted Brussels sprouts, and like broccolini, things that, again, everything that's going to have a crunch and have some of the like coloring that's in there. You can see that the calamari is starting to cook here, color's changing, our chicken down here finally, and now our shrimp is starting to take some color. So it means you're on the right path. You see everything, our rice is starting to plump up a little bit. The edges are starting to get nice. It really is. It's just a fantastic dish. Does anybody have any questions of things that I might have gone like really too quickly? Might be able to take one or first draw. So I added the chicken back in after the rice got coated in the olive oil with the onions and the garlic. So once the rice is in, you start layering your proteins from there. That was definitely one.
And earlier on, Kristiann, someone had asked, what was the rice to liquid ratio?
So 1 to 1.5, kind of 2, because when you're cooking inside, it's a lot easier to control your surroundings. It's 1,000 times easier. I don't like to make anything easy for myself. So 9 times out of 10, when I do events here in Connecticut, we are cooking outside. We have a whole mobile kitchen. So we have to take wind, humidity, all of these things into consideration. So I did a cup of rice and about 1.75 cups of vegetable stock. You saw me top dress a little bit with white wine. And by eye, I am seeing that the kernels in the center are doing really well. We're going to probably run out of a little bit of liquid on the outside. So I'm going to go back in with a little bit more of the vegetable stock and just make sure that nothing is left too crunchy. But we don't want to add too much liquid because then you mess up with that crispy crunch layer at the bottom of the pan because you'll just float it. Thank you. And this is like a great dish to do outside. My customers love it. We do all different types of paellas. Like sometimes we'll do a vegetable paella with some steak and like some flank steaks that we roll with like pesto and sun-dried tomatoes and spinach. Because 1, it's beautiful. 2, it's an experience. Like you get the warm and fuzzies by slowly putting together this dish. And just like a lot of other dishes, once you get the base done, you can kind of step back, breathe, work on other things, enjoy, and you're still smelling it and it looks great and it slowly just comes together. I mean, you can see like all the colors here. It's very good. So at this point, when we start seeing proteins changing color and all of that, we're going to go ahead and up the heat a little bit more. And I actually might steal one of the cameras so that you guys can see, because it's a little different. Bear with me. That is what she looks like from the side. I mean, you see some bubbling action going on. this is really what she's going to look like. And there you'll hear some bubbling going on, you know, because again, this is one of these dishes where it's everything. Every sense is being engaged. It's absolutely fantastic. But you'll see the little bit of bubbling, you'll see the colors changing, you'll see the liquid evaporating. So it's one of those things that as you get more familiar with the dish itself, there we go. You will be able to start, you know, figuring out, oh, you know what? I need to add a little more liquid this time. Come back down. These tripods, I tell you. There we go. There we go. Back. All right.
Kristiann, we also had a couple questions.
Any other
Do you
questions
ever
about
put-
technique?
I'm sorry.
Oh, am I on mute? Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. I turned you guys down.
There was the question of, do you ever put foil over it?
Ooh.
Tin foil over it?
So the reason that you don't cover a paella is because you want the liquid to evaporate. You want it to be soft on top and crunchy on the bottom. And the second you go and you put that tin foil on top, just like a grill, as soon as you put the cover on, it's an oven. It's not a grill anymore. Same thing with this. As soon as we put a lid on top of the paella, now all of a sudden that pressure that's rising, it's not going anywhere. It's coming back down and you'll never get that crispiness on the bottom. And now you're going to start having a texture a little bit more like a risotto. That is the biggest difference. That's why you never cut it. You like cover it. Can you do it in a cast iron pan on a grill? Absolutely. Absolutely. You'd be surprised how you can make paella in all kinds of different things. This standalone pan stand works very well for me because when we're catering and we're doing these dining experiences, I can just kind of have her off to the side and work on her. But if you have one of those grills, just again, remember, don't put the lid down. You have to let her breathe. And if you're going to put her in the oven, you need a little bit more you need a little less liquid. So because you want to get that baseline at the bottom, and you don't want to bake yourself a risotto. And at the end of the day, and I've done this 1,000 times, because when you're working on recipes and things like this, and with 4 kids, it can sometimes be a little bit. If it ends up being a risotto, it's still absolutely delicious. Your night is not ruined. You're perfectly fine. You'll just have to try for that little bit of crunch the next time. Guys, we are rounding out. We are excited about this. I just want to let you. Look at how good this looks. And then you can see like all of it changing. And the color changes. And that's like that's the beautiful thing. That saffron, once it starts to bleed into the liquids, you've got this beautiful smoky, just the smell of the saffron, and then the color itself bleeds into the rice. So now you've got this beautiful orangey yellow color that just covers the entire rice, and it is divine. That's actually how you know when you're abroad. Like, let's say you're in Barcelona and you're a tourist and there's paella on every street corner. The authentic paellas are more of a deeper yellow color versus this bright highlighter yellow, sunshine yellow color. They actually cover all of it versus, you know, taking saffron, allowing the saffron to infuse in all the rices. That was something I learned when abroad. I love this. Wish I could have you all here for dinner. There we go. Flip them over. So you know your shrimp will be done when they close up nice and tight into a beautiful little circle. Your calamari all becomes like this translucent color. The tentacles start to curl up and they do, you know, they look great. Your chicken at this point, because you already started your chicken, is cooked. And so is your sausage. And so we will continue to let this cook down. So now we've hit the point where all of the juices from the actual elements in your paella are starting to give up, because now we've got some really beautiful pooling all here. And that is just going to feed in the rice. And since the pan is slightly slanted, you're going to get less liquid on the edges. It'll go more to the center, and then that's going to help you with that beautiful, like crispy, crunchy exterior, and then the bottom. For I don't know if there's any Puerto Ricans in the room. It's called pegao. It's something that is just nice, and like we fight over it. It's like the best part of the any rice dish is when you got the pegao. All right. Any other technical questions that I may have missed? As I'm going to fill up my glass. Ooh, I have 2 more wines for you guys. They're sweating now. So we've got a Bordeaux rosé. Bordeaux, think of France. Some absolutely beautiful Bordeaux grapes that they went ahead and crushed and made a fantastic rosé out of it. This is going to be about a $15 bottle of wine. Not sweet, because again, if you're going to do a rosé, 1, make sure it's super chilled, and 2, do yourself a favor. This is a very, very savory dish. Do not go too sweet with your rosés. There's also really great infused grapefruit, orange, pomegranate rosés. Just stick to a basic rosé, because all of the flavors that are in the tent came down on one side. That's how heavy the rain was today. But luckily, we're good. That was the craziest storm I have seen rip through Connecticut. I mean, literally, we were cooking. I went inside to dice up some stuff, came back, and the whole place was, I think we got 3 inches in 45 minutes. It was insane. But we're good. So going back to wines, make sure that they're just not too sweet, because you've spent all of this time slowly cooking down this beautiful dish. The last thing you would want to do is completely kill your palate with a very, very sweet Moscato, too sweet of a Riesling, too sweet of a rosé. Nor do you want to do a super overpowering red. That's why we went with a Pinot Noir, and it's just absolutely perfect. It allows the food to talk for itself, pair nicely with the wine. And yes, we keep this uncovered the entire time, unless you're cooking it in the oven. Then it's a different story, but even still, you wouldn't cover it in the oven. You're just going to put it in as is. You want the liquids to evaporate on their own, and not create like a risotto kind of texture. Yeah, this is a slow dish, guys. You have to have patience, hence the wine. This is a good Friday night, Saturday night dish. It's absolutely fantastic. Were there any other questions that I might have missed?
Just lots of, it looks delicious. Everyone's hungry. I know I've eaten dinner, but now I want to eat again. Sherry said it's all about the rice.
It is all about the rice. Yeah, you can't. But again, if this is your first time making a paella and you happen to put too much liquid, I love it that you don't stir it while cooking. No, don't touch the rice. Put your spoon down. Go Macarena somewhere else. Do not touch your rice. You gotta let it sit. And that's a very hard thing for me because one, I'm very animated, lots of hand stuff. But while cooking, you're used to wanting to touch things, make sure that it's evenly cooked, that you're getting moving the flavor all around. Paella, you can't. You gotta take a chill pill and relax and enjoy yourself. Yeah, I can't thank you guys enough for logging in tonight. This has been fantastic. Again, like this is one of my favorite dishes to make for the people that I love the most. So I'm very excited to be able to share this with you guys tonight. It's always an experience here. You just got to run with the punches. All right. Actually, and with the rain gone, we might even be able to take it off. Hold on 1 second. Hey guys, can you come help me? The tent fell.
Yes, we can all, Sherry said, rain, rain, go away. We can all do our rain dance that the rain is going away for the grand finale.
Yeah, do the rain dance. All right, so I'm gonna go over here.
Oh no!
There we go. That's why she got too heavy under there. Yeah. You just hold
What
her.
are we gonna do?
Just hold it. We're almost done.
Okay.
All right, tent's back up. Much better. All right, so as we check into our paella, peas obviously nicely cooked. Our shrimp all nicely curled up. You can see that our peppers are nice and soft. So are tomatoes. We've got some nice crunchy rice going on all of the edges. You can see a little bit of the browning. Typically when you see browning on the edge of a pan, it makes you nervous. Something's burning. Nothing's burning. It just smells fantastic. Right, Deb? Does it smell good? I gotta.
Calamari's all yours.
Yeah, I'll eat that for you.
Yeah, I'm not calamari. What you got?
But yeah, everything else is looking fantastic. So as everything goes and starts to evaporate, that's going to darken up. It's going to crust over. Again, you're not burning anything. You will smell it. Because we put, one last question, are you at low heat the whole time? Fantastic question. So once we get through and add all of our ingredients together for the first time in the pan, we are at high for a little bit until everything comes up to a boil. And then we bring her down to a medium low. So that way, this whole time, there's a little bit of bubble action going on without the liquid just sitting. If you cook it on low, it's going to take a lot longer. So as you become more comfortable with the recipe, you'll be able to turn up the heat a little bit, understand when it's the right time to do it. Because now we're getting to the point, and you can, I don't know if you guys can see it right here. It's kind of like the tide when it goes out and you start getting the bubbles in the sand. That's what we got going on right now. We've got some air pockets all over through the rice. So we know that we are doing a fantastic job. The other thing about small grain rice is the center will stay white and the rest of it will start like softening up and becoming more of a translucent color. That is also a good indication if you need to add in more liquid or not. If you see your rice not changing color on the edges, tiny bit more liquid is going to be needed. But right now we're cooking. We are like literally almost done. And it looks fantastic. And again, as much as you would love to like stir it and flip it over and start mixing it all together, you're going to take this pan straight from here, let it sit for a solid 10 minutes before you go to serve it, because it changes consistency from the heat to serve. and you want all of the extra juices and all those flavors to have a second, just like a steak. Let it sit, meld together off the heat, and then go ahead and serve it. So yeah, we're doing pretty good. Were there any other?
No, I don't think so. I'm just
Okay.
looking through.
Perfect.
No, we got everybody. We did the lid question, the tinfoil question.
Perfect. How many, I mean, because obviously I can't see all of you in one screen. How many people are actually cooking tonight? Cooking along. I would love. Jenny, you're shaking your head like, oh, I would love to be cooking right now. I do see you, my dear. Yeah. So in about 10 minutes, this is going to be ready to put off to the side, put down, and get ready to serve. It love to, but it's just a little too early for me. Oh, it must be California.
California, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about you. I'm up for paella any time of day. I am notorious for being that one who will like put it in the microwave the next morning for breakfast. It is known in our household.
Henry said that he's cooking this weekend, so he's grateful for the information. Well, you'll
Perfect.
definitely have to, if anyone cooks, you'll have to send us photos. We would love to see
Absolutely.
all your
Find me on social media. Send me
Yep.
pictures. I would love to. And yes, you should totally try it tomorrow. It's a great Friday night dish. Like if you're having people over, like a bunch of people, and it's going to be just like one of those slow nights, it is a great dish to have because you can be around with everyone. It's not so labor intensive once you get through the beginning, that you can actually sit back, enjoy your guests, engage with your guests, and you can customize it to pretty much anybody's palate, which is huge.
Barbara's asking when you put the mussels in.
So mussels, now that the liquid is almost done here, we add them in now. Because they take zero time. So we had our mussels in water, cleaned them out, gave them a nice little scrub. While you are picking your mussels out, you're going to look for ones that are broken like this. They got to go. You can't use them. Any of them that are open, don't play with those. So you'll take them individually, one by one. And you'll see all of the great paella masters do these absolutely stunning designs with their mussels on the very top. We are a big mussel household, so we're going to try to add in as many as possible. Okay. There we go. And then those will just sit on there because this has got a solid like 10 minutes left to go. So by the time this is all done, as the heat, because it's so hot in the pan, you see them slowly start to open. And that is when you know you got it good. Take. So as we wrap up, because I know we just have an hour, I'm so excited you guys can see that they're all starting to open up and do their thing. Now we're just going to take a clump of parsley, about yay big. We're going to take, cut the stalks right off. This is the worst thing that you could put in with your parsley. If you don't have the time to take all of the individual leaves off, go ahead and just cut the stalks right off. Mince her down super quick. She's already been washed. And there we go. And we will finish the dish like that. So she'll finish her last 10 minutes here. We'll go ahead and turn the heat off, let her sit for a few minutes, and then go ahead and serve her for our family. Guys, thank you for doing this with me. This has been a blast.
Thank you. Thank you. This was amazing. As I said, I was already ate dinner, but now I want to eat again. Thank you. So many thank yous in the chat. Your family is
Wonderful.
lucky for dinner tonight. Yes, I think they're lucky every night with these kind of meals. My guys are certainly jealous. So we thank you all again for joining us this evening. And once again, we would love if anyone makes your dishes, be sure to tag us and share your beautiful creations because we would love to see them. And we hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of the night. I'm just gonna pin this back here again. Thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of the evening.